You're listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, where we share topics that will inspire business growth and help you stay ahead of advances in technology before they become mainstream. This episode is sponsored by Ingram Micro Xvantage, the game-changing platform that will transform your business potential and reshape how customers see you. Welcome to B2B Tech Talk. Today we are joined by Sandra Antoun, who is the Director of Sales and Marketing for Vintage IT Services. Vintage has been a longtime customer of Ingram Micro, and they're also a member of our TrustX Alliance community. Sandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So tell our audience a little bit more about Vintage and your role there.
Okay, so Vintage IT Services, we are a woman-owned, privately owned. We always like to say that we're the largest privately owned MSP in Austin, Texas. Husband and wife own the company, and I've been with Vintage a little over 15 years. I feel like I've grown up here. We provide managed services, cloud services, security services, the whole gambit.
Okay. Well, so again, you've been in business for almost as long as Ingram Micro. What can you attribute your successful longevity to?
I have to say, Steve and Cheryl, when they started, they were just selling hardware and software. And then, they kept reading about managed services. They made the transition. And I remember Steve and Cheryl telling me stories of not only were we working the business, but we were also doing the housekeeping in the office. And I think another big factor is who they are as individuals, right? I can't say that I've worked for a company that has more integrity than Steve and Cheryl Haynes. And I think that transcends down to our employees and therefore our customers. And we're not going anywhere. I mean, with all the M&A that's happening, it's great, but the owners have given small percentages of ownership to some of the leadership team to ensure that we're happy and we continue to help the business grow. And I think that really sets us apart from other MSPs.
Yeah, and 15 years is a long time. What attracted you to go to work for Vintage?
It's actually a funny story. I was working in the mortgage industry and I purchased my first condo at 25 and I thought I was so cool. And then the market crashed, I think 2 days after I closed on my condo. Anyway, I had to find a job and I ended up working at another MSP just because it was sales oriented. And then I was poached well, I shouldn't say poached, but basically one of the clients that I was marketing to, sending, cold call emails to was a Vintage client. And that client sent the email to my boss and said, you should hire this girl. And then I got an interview and I've been here since.
That is a great story. Um,
Yeah.
but there's got to be, speaking of stories, there's got to be something more than the true definition of vintage that goes behind the name of Vintage IT. How did they come up with that name?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that question because it's when I first started at Vintage, I thought it was a horrible name for a progressive IT company. But my boss swears that Vintage years brought the best grapes and the best champagne and the best wine, and he wanted to be the best IT services provider. So we've done our best to incorporate, that story into our brand, and we'll serve wine and appetizers at some of the board of director meetings for some of our nonprofit clients, and we make it fun.
I love it. I love it. What a great idea. Well, I recently read, and congratulations to you, that you have been named CRN 2024 Inclusive Channel Leader. What an honor. And it's a new award, relatively new award as well. What does that receiving this award mean to you?
Honestly, I first I want to mention that it's not just me, it takes our entire team. I mean, we're 18 people. There's no way that I could say that I do that on my own. It's just impossible. Um, but it means I feel like my team and I have succeeded in trying to build an inclusive culture where everybody feels valued, their opinions matter. We're very transparent with, where we are as a business, and it takes our little vintage village to help us evolve. So really that award is for all of Vintage, especially, our techs who work really hard. For anybody in the tech industry, you know what I'm talking about. So I just feel like it just shows that our efforts, are working, and we'll continue to grow from that.
Well, it sounds like you're a true good leader, humble, as you should be, and most good leaders always attribute their success to their teams as well. But your CEO was quoted as saying, Sandra's exceptional leadership and dedication to fostering an inclusive work environment have been instrumental in driving innovation and growth at Vintage IT Services. Her ability to empower her team and build meaningful client relationships has set a standard of excellence within our organization. This recognition is a testament to Sandra's unwavering commitment to diversity, creativity, and excellence in all she does. Wow. That's a
Yeah, you're making me cry.
that's a
Um,
wonderful that's a wonderful testament to you and to your organization. I was going to ask you how did that make you feel, but clearly you demonstrated how that makes you feel.
well, I definitely feel valued and loved. Steve and Cheryl really are like a second set of parents for me. And I have worked for many employers, and I really believe that it's the integrity and the love of their business which they give to the employees, and to say things like that. It's not every day you get to hear that, and it honestly encourages me to want to keep doing good and doing better and offering more, um, so that we can continue to grow. I mean, I don't really have any words except that I'm grateful, I suppose.
Well, obviously, the recognition and the way that Steve and Cheryl look at you, and the rest of the team is extremely powerful and speaks to your loyalty as well. So when we last spoke, we talked about the kinds of customers that you work with, and you mentioned that you do a lot of work for nonprofits. Can you talk a little bit more about your creative kind of win-win approach to earning their trust in business?
Absolutely. When I first started at Vintage, Steve and Cheryl were big on giving back to the community, and we were always trying to find ways on how we can get involved with the nonprofit sector. And what we found over the years, we still have, I mean, we continue to gain more and more clients in that vertical. But we would meet with an organization, and they'd have an X amount of dollars for a budget. Let's say it was $3,000. But what they needed to really secure and support their environment was going to cost 5,000. And that's just, there's just the cost of doing business. So we figured, well, why not donate and supplement the difference to that organization, and they can therefore spend it on IT. And I can't tell you, some of these organizations are honored, shocked, but just grateful. And so we're able to give back and help them, and also, continue to do business and grow relationships in that sector.
That's amazing. What and what great karma that creates
Absolutely.
for your
Absolutely.
organization. What about the other verticals? What other industries do you work in?
I mean, really, I will say we will work with almost any vertical except retail and hotels. It's just not our specialty. We have had a DIR contract, which means we can sell to state and local government. In fact, Steve won one of the largest contracts in 2012 or 2013. It was for managing 14,000 seats for the Texas Health and Human Services. And for
Wow.
a small company, he was really proud. And so we kind of created a name in that in the government vertical. But architecture firms, real estate firms, insurance companies, manufacturing companies, nonprofits. I mean, from our perspective, the network and computers are the network and computers. Where we find that that doesn't necessarily is not necessarily the case is when we work in a retail environment where it's just a little bit different. Not that we're not open to it, but we just haven't had much success in that area.
Nice. So it also sounds as if the culture that has been fostered within Vintage really speaks to your customers as well, right? It's not one way within the office and another way with customers. It sounds like you all have just created this beautiful culture that customers and your partners are drawn to. So Vintage is a member of Ingram Micro's TrustX Alliance community. What has that membership meant to Vintage, and what has it meant to you personally?
Well, I'm going to try to get this story right from Steve's perspective, but he tells me, way back when they had a large account and, they were qualified at a certain level with Ingram. And I think at the time it was BTN. And he worked hand in hand with the Ingram team, I think, to actually get that large account that I just mentioned. And because of the relationship that was fostered there, they let us keep that same level as part of partnership. And then when I started, I felt like I was thrown in with the wolves. There was all this vernacular. I didn't know what was going on. Like, what am I doing here? And anywhere I looked, somebody would point me in the right direction. And now over time, I have been able to go to these conferences and be part of the community and learn that we all have similar problems, or challenges. And it's nice to see how every company, evolves in those challenges. And then we can share that information and bring it back and help improve our business. And then personally, I can't tell you a handful of mentors and diehard friendships that I've created from TrustX community that is invaluable to me. I can't imagine another industry, and I hope that's the case, and I'm sure there are, where we have a community like this that's really willing to help, and it's great.
Isn't it wonderful when you can feel like, there's no competition. You're not even thinking about that. It's all about caring and helping and supporting one another. And that's really where the magic happens. But you must have felt like a fish out of water when you first joined and you go to maybe your first TrustX event. What was your first impression?
Well, one, that there weren't a lot of women in the industry, and so I definitely stood out, I think, in that regard. But I just felt like, okay, they're Ingram TrustX is here. They're just trying to help us. They're trying to help us grow. So take advantage of this information, of these resources, these, partners that have been involved for a long time, and, follow the path. So I, I mean, we we live and die by our partnership with Ingram. There's so much that y'all have helped us do from a business perspective, and then just supply chain. So I mean, you guys are Ingram TrustX. You guys, sorry, are part of our business and our culture.
Well, I know that the team will appreciate hearing that because that's what Ingram and TrustX Alliance strives to do is create that community, be that indispensable partner. Have you attended or your team attended Ingram Micro One events?
Oh yeah, for many years. They're fantastic. I mean, what's great is, you take care of business during the day, and then, you have that glass of wine at, the events that they have, the post-conference events. And then you'd be surprised, you sit down with somebody just chatting, and I can't tell you how many business transactions have developed from just the casual aspects of the conference. I enjoy going. I enjoy the community, and it's it's great. They're great.
I look forward to seeing you there and meeting you in person as
Likewise,
well. That'll be fun. If you could sum up or describe TrustX Alliance in one word, what would it be?
community, without a doubt, because that's what it is. It's a community where MSPs, vendors, mentors, human beings, wives, husbands, children, etc., can get together, talk shop, but also be human and connect. And I think, especially post COVID, some people maybe didn't have that chance to get back out into the community. And when we have when we were able to open up the platform with events like the Ingram Micro Trust X1 event, it allows us to get out and continue what we were doing before COVID.
I'm so glad you mentioned one word that I want to just double click on for a second. And you mentioned human and the humanity. And we live in such a digital world now, and with AI and everything we're doing, we seem to be what appears to move further away from the human experience. But I beg to differ. I think we're almost becoming more human as we have the need to communicate with one another more and help support each other. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I agree with you. I do. And I think, um, one of the things I think about is right after COVID, I was trying to do a social event for our clients. And I had forgotten that a lot of people weren't going back to the office. They were working from home. And so making that trek downtown or wherever the event was going to be wasn't as easy or as comfortable. And then I was forced to, redirect and figure out how can I bring back that human touch. And now, exciting for me, I get to take our clients to lunch, to dinner, to concerts. And I think that gives me more time individually with each of our clients, but allows them to do what they want to do without having to compromise, driving or having to pick up their kids or whatever, however they've adjusted their lifestyle. So yeah, I agree with you.
That's wonderful. Well, you have been such a delight to talk to. I've loved learning about vintage. And is Steve and Cheryl coming to one as well?
No, and that's okay because there's me and usually our procurement manager who works heavily with Ingram all day, every day, will be joining. His name is Jason Matthews.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to meeting you there. And thank you so much for sharing your time and your wonderful stories. And again, congratulations on the wonderful honor.
Likewise, and thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Impactful global engagements, iconic entertainment experiences, and memorable networking opportunities. Be part of it all at Ingram Micro One 2024. You've been listening to Ingram Micro's B2B Tech Talk. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode and you want to continue the conversation online, use hashtag B2B Tech Talk.